We were doing around 260,000 a month. This coming month, we are projecting 1.75 million, and our very aggressive goal is 2 million this month. So, we have seen a massive growth. That is, I would say, largely due to you and your team and everything that you've done for us. And we're profitable on first purchase, which is like unheard of in this space. We're giving Meta $1 and they're giving us $5 back. Like, who is not going to do that deal every day?
For the people who don't know you yet, who are you and what is AlgoRX in simple terms?
Yeah, so I'm Adam Hotchkiss. In a former life, I was a doctor, so you might know me as Dr. Hotch on some of my social handles. I'm the founder of AlgoRX, and what we are is a direct-to-consumer telehealth platform with a bias or a focus on performance athletes. So I come from the world of foot and ankle surgery, where I'd hoped to be working with athletes, but instead worked with mainly patients with diabetes, morbidly obese and diabetic foot ulcers. And I was just, left amputating toes and feet all the time, and it was horrible. So I got more into this wellness space. I started with one of the biggest clinics in the nation and helped scale them. And I really loved what they were doing, but I saw an issue, which was the barrier of entry was extremely high. With a lot of these clinics, just to go along inside their journey kind of starts with like a $450 lab panel. That's on the low side. And then you're talking about a $250 physician consult. And then they mark up the meds extremely high and they're pushing you a lot of supplements and things. So I saw a way that we could kind of give people who knew what they wanted access, because I would meet with a lot of young guys who maybe wanted something like Tadalafil, which is historically an erectile dysfunction medication, but used a lot in performance communities for things like improving blood flow and nutrients to muscles, things like that. So a young guy, maybe 19 years old, might be coming in looking for just that for his cardiovascular health, for his increased blood flow. And he was looking at maybe $1,000 to get that, where I knew that we could probably provide that for around $30 a month. So we started AlgoRX, which again is kind of like a direct to consumer. We will, you can pick whatever you want. We link you up with a physician licensed in your state. If they approve your treatment, we prescribe it from a pharmacy in your state, gets shipped directly to door. So it's as close as possible, going on and buying a supplement or going to Amazon as you can get in terms of like medicine.
Yeah. And you already touched on that, but who would you say is the typical person that you serve? And what are like the problems that you're solving for them?
Yeah, so our demo is largely young athletic males. We do have some females that come in too, but I would say that, again, the bias is more towards athletes, so performance athletes in particular. Historically, like we talked about, healthcare isn't really healthcare. I consider it more like sick care. You go when you're sick, and medicine right now is really good at treating sick people. We're really good at trauma and kind of prolonging life a little bit, but we're not really good at helping a healthy person be healthier. So we are kind of the answer for that. And we're really more the answer for somebody who knows exactly what they want as well. So in this day and age, with access and the internet and podcasts and everything, a lot of people know what they want. Maybe they listen to Huberman or Dr. Attia or all these people, all these resources, and they might know like, hey, I think that Tadalafil is right for me because I know about PDE5 inhibition and how it's going to increase blood flow to muscles. And they know these things, but they talk to their older kind of old school doctor, and they've never heard of these because, again, they're more in this sick care realm. So we built a platform for, if you know what you want, we're going to kind of give you as much autonomy as we possibly can so that you can choose that. The main demo was really a performance driven or a biohacking kind of human optimization person.
Yeah. And I can definitely relate to the sickness care and to those problems because I had that happen to myself, where I went to the doctor to get some blood work done, for example, to just see like how can I optimize it or how can I ensure that I'm even healthy after being in the bubble with Huberman, Dr. Attia, and all of those. And the doctor basically was shocked that I went there while I was healthy and that I didn't have like any urgent problems. And she said that it's just like such a waste of time and money to do those tests. And that was a very bad experience.
The system's not set up for that. So lab work is another thing that we do. It's kind of half of our business model, and that's giving direct to consumer lab work. And that's even easier than the medication because that's basically like, all the labs that we have on there are pre-approved from our doctor panel. And so if you want any of those, you simply add those to cart, and you can add them to cart in the parking lot of the lab and then walk in and get your labs drawn. So that's very easy. But yeah, to your point, I mean, so many young guys will go and maybe they're not feeling great, so they want to test their testosterone or something like that, and they're told, no, you look good, Andrej, you've got a beard, so your testosterone must be completely fine. And it's like, we don't know. And unfortunately, we'll give out things like SSRIs or antidepressants, kind of like their candy, but we won't test something like testosterone, which we can actually measure. So we just wanted to kind of solve that problem for people. If you want to take a look under the hood, we don't have any gatekeeping. There's no judgment. Go ahead and do that. And we kind of stay out of your way. We just kind of help facilitate it as much as possible.
Yeah. And when we recorded this interview back in June 2025, where was the business at in numbers?
So yeah, we had launched in January 2025, and by June, I think we were around like 260,000 a month. So we were doing pretty good 6 months in. It was a rocky start in the beginning. I mean, most business owners would listen to that and be like, wow, you were doing 200,000 in 6 months. That's not a rocky start. To us, it felt like a rocky start because we were bootstrapped. I left my medical practice to do this. And so it was like, there was like 5 months where we weren't making much money. And during our last podcast is kind of when we had spiked. And so it was a rocky start in the beginning for me, who didn't, had left everything behind, and we bootstrapped this thing. But that's where we were, right around, I think, 260,000 a month in revenue.
And do you remember what back then, like the biggest challenges or bottlenecks were for you, both in terms of the business, but also for you as the founder?
I mean, there's a ton. The hardest thing is that the space that we are in is highly regulated in multiple ways. So in particular, like how we work with you too, and how we advertise this stuff, that is very, very hard. You can't just be anyone and go on and say, buy medication. All of the platforms do not like that. So Meta is going to restrict you, Snapchat, TikTok, all of them, Google. So we've had a really hard time with that. We had to get Legit Script certified, which is a very arduous process where you have to go through and basically prove that we're legit. And then even when you get that, oftentimes the Meta AI, as you know, because you've had a lot of our campaigns we shut down, it will flag it because it says, oh, they're talking about a medication. It doesn't do kind of the background check to say, oh, we approve them to be able to do this. So they just shut us down. So that was probably one of the biggest hurdles that we were having. And then also just brand awareness. Like, I knew that we had a really good product that a lot of people would enjoy and like, but getting in front of people and letting them know that we have this service is always going to be hard when you're first starting out. And then there's going to be like legitimacy factor. Nowadays there's so many of these research chemical places and kind of there's this gray zone where people are sending medications that should be prescribed, but they're not. And so we are always struggling with showing people that we're an actual, telehealth practice with actual licensed physicians and actual pharmacies. We're not just some bathtub, medication brewing company that sends it out to you under the guise of research only. So we've had a lot of hurdles. The biggest ones would be the regulation, though.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, that was from the moment we partnered up, and even before we partnered up, you had those issues with the ad accounts and things being flagged.
Yeah, it's really hard. You basically mention anything as it relates to medication or a treatment in any way, and you can definitely get flagged and lose your account. And I mean, we had an account shut down on Black Friday, the worst day of the year, for something that we had posted 6 months prior that they just decided to randomly flag that day. So that's the kind of thing that can always happen and that we are always dealing with. Yeah,
that was fun. Luckily, we had a backup account and could get things up and running quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially on a day like Black Friday, you don't want your ad account to get shut down.
No, especially not for an ad that you forgot you even had on in the system.
Yeah, exactly. Now, walk me through what happened since the first interview that we did in terms of growth. Like, how did revenue evolve?
So growth has just been insane. I think we did our last podcast. Was it last June? Was it basically about a year ago?
Exactly. It was end of June, and now we're in the beginning of June.
So yeah, just about 12 months ago. So then, as I said, we were doing around 260,000 a month. This coming month, we are projecting somewhere around. We think that we'll definitely hit 1.75 million, and our very aggressive goal is 2 million this month. So, we have seen a massive growth. That is, I would say, largely due to you and your team and everything that you've done for us. And again, helping us with that awareness. That's kind of been our entire strategy for the past year, is just get in front of as many people as we can and prove that we are who we say we are. We've done that. And then on my side, I've been very big on building the brand. So I knew going into this that, there is hundreds of telehealth clinics. I wanted to stand out because, I needed to be a company for somebody, because if I was a company for everybody, then I was a company for nobody, in my opinion. So one of the best switches that we did was really look at our customer base. And when we saw that that demographic was largely athletes, we leaned into athletes 110%. So we made it a company for them. So we were no longer the company for, the casual soccer mom who might want to try, to get her lab work done. We don't really advertise to those people. We leaned as hard as we could into the performance hardcore athlete, and that helped us grow significantly. I mean, it was kind of, like a hockey stick. We were kind of slow. And then when we changed and kind of leaned into that brand, we shot up. So props to you guys for helping us to portray that as well. And then just on our side, all the brand work that we've done on the back end.
Yeah, definitely. That was a huge unlock and a huge help. I still remember how initially like everything was very like neutral. We had like the white website, white design, and it was designed in a way to like attract the average consumer, the average person. But then luckily we figured out that actually the people that are most interested in the products and that are like looking for those products are those athletes. And you guys changed the whole branding, the whole design, the whole like everything. And since then, the results have been significantly better.
It was kind of like an overnight unlock. It was kind of crazy. Like the days after the rebrand, all of a sudden revenue was like doubling, tripling, because it's now kind of like, oh, this is a cool brand that I associate with, because they were already coming and checking us out. But like you said, everything was white and pastels and, kind of like these serif fonts. And we were falling down kind of the rabbit hole of people like Hims that are kind of a catch-all. They're trying to cast such a large net, but we don't have the marketing budget that they do. We're really not the company for everyone like somebody like Hims is. So we needed to stay true to the people who were buying from us and just build a company for them, which was great because that's me as well. I grew up an athlete, so I was able to be more authentic too. I felt like I was lacking authenticity when I was trying to make a company for someone who I wasn't. So I would definitely, as a founder, if you can, lean as hard as possible into the people who are buying from you and build a brand for them.
Yeah, definitely. It just aligns with, it should align with who you are as the founder, because then you also enjoy it way more, the process. Yes. But the revenue growth is really, really mind blowing. I mean, you mentioned that like beginning of last year, you're doing about 70K per month in revenue. And this month projected to be anywhere from 1.8 to 2 million in revenue. Roughly, what did you do in revenue in the last month?
Last month, I think we're at 1.42 million.
Yeah. Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad at all. No, not bad.
Yeah.
And we've stayed largely profitable, which is great, especially with you guys. Like, we have really aggressive goals for you. Like it's way above industry standard. So, we'll be talking to you and saying like, Andrej, we want to stay somewhere around like this 6 ROAS, or sometimes we were even up at like an 8 ROAS when we were starting. We would ask you to try to keep us there, which again is really aggressive and way outside of industry standard. But you guys have done really, really well at doing so. Now we've massively increased our spend, and we're still hovering north of a 5 ROAS, which is just incredible. So we're highly profitable with all of the ad spend that we're doing and all of the revenue. It's great.
Yeah, 100%. And do you know roughly like where ad spend start and where it is right now, like how much we're spending?
Yeah, I wrote some of that down for you because there's so many numbers as a founder that I see every single day. But let's see. So wrote down in here that I think in the beginning or when we talked last, at least, we were spending around 17,000 a month, which seems, insanely high to me. At the time, I was like, 17,000. And now we're right around 300,000 a month. And I get excited about that. I'm like, I can't wait till the day that we're spending like 100,000 a day, but with that comes a lot of other like infrastructure that we're not ready for yet. So we're already finding that the more that we spend, the more we need to change things and improve and just, it's a completely different ball game. But yeah, so from the beginning where we were at zero and we were only influencer marketing, that got us not very far to bringing you on and, around 17,000 a month to where we are now, 300,000. I'm sure by the end of the year, in the next 6 months, it's going to be even higher. I mean, we could be around like 500,000.
Yeah. And what would you say, were you most skeptical or nervous about, like when we started to scale the ad spend that hard?
I don't think I was too skeptical, actually. In the beginning, I was skeptical because another thing that I've had to learn as a business owner is that, even though I said that the brand is for me, like the customers are not me. So what I mean by that is like, I hate ads. When I see them, I immediately know that it's an ad and I skip it. Like I'll be like washing dishes, listening to a podcast. And if the podcast person starts doing an ad read, I'll dry my hands and skip through it. I don't want to hear it. I hate ads. I hate email marketing. So I thought that everybody was like me. And I thought there's no way ads work. There's no way email marketing works. So that's why we kind of held off on running ads for a long time too. But after like our first month with you and seeing, our revenue go from like, I forget how much it was, very small, probably like 10,000 a month or whatever. And then, to where we were with you, it was like, oh, let's put as much as we can into this because, we realized like we're giving Meta $1 and they're giving us $5 back. Like who is not going to do that deal every day? So that's what at that point we were getting like $8 back. So at that time we were like, scale this as hard as possible. So really the skepticism was gone after a few months of trialing it.
Yeah. That's great to hear because I know like obviously a lot of founders, a lot of brand operators are really, really scared of increasing the ad spend because like oftentimes you start increasing and then it takes a while until you see the sales coming back. Obviously with some brands, it's literally right away. With some, it takes a while. And you always see all of those expenses coming in. You see the credit card charges coming through. And I remember like Jim reached out to me a few times with like that he's getting like those credit card charges every single day, and whether like we're on track to hitting the targets. But it's good to hear that you weren't too skeptical.
No, also I think we did it strategically, or you guys did. You're really we give you kind of full reign, but you did it slow. It's not like we went from spending 10,000 a month all this to 300,000 overnight. Like these have been slow, incremental, and making sure that everything is in line. And you guys are great with your data reporting. We can see, day by day what the spend is, what the return is, and then we can come together and kind of make a decision like, let's bring this up 20% or something. So it's nice in that regard. So that's why it was easy to see. We're constantly meeting with you guys. You guys are always checking in with us, showing us how much we're making, and then kind of saying like, this is our thought. What do you guys think? Do we have the green light to push more? So it's been great.
Yeah. And now I wanted to also quickly touch on profit because a lot of people only talk about return ad spend, and you briefly already touched on it. But like roughly, what does profitability look like for you right now?
It is great. So let's see. Over the last 10 months, it looks like we've had 3.5 in contribution margin, which is awesome. That's taking into account like everything. So, we will make a ton in revenue, obviously. This is what most people probably don't realize, that some companies make a ridiculous amount in revenue and then can even have negative profit because they're putting so much into the ad spend and everything. So, we'll make a good amount of revenue, and we're able to pay everything. We're able to pay our providers, our pharmacy costs, our employee costs, pay you guys, all of our vendors, and still come out very profitable. So it has been amazing, honestly. The fact that we're able to get such a high ROAS makes that possible. And then the great thing with you guys too is you've given us kind of a marker where we say we can't spend over this much, because at that point we cut into your profitability. And I love that too, because I know that I basically don't have to think too much. I know that you guys are on top of that. You've done all the back end work to tell us where you're profitable. And you know, maybe if we wanted to push past that, maybe we would, but being bootstrapped and not having ever raised any funds, we're not really in a place where we want to do that. So yeah, we've been highly profitable with all of the spend, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, especially in such an industry like yours, where there is, like, in theory, like a very high customer lifetime value, a lot of returning customers. Like, that's an industry where a lot of brands are willing to lose a lot of money on the customer acquisition and then get it back over the lifetime of the customer.
Right.
But with you, we've been always able to be highly profitable and to acquire new customers profitably right away.
Yeah, we're profitable on first purchase, which is like unheard of in this space.
Yeah.
And that's partially due to how lean we operate, which is nice. So it's really nice that we don't have to have any like in-person places. We have a lot of vendors. The pharmacy does all of the, packaging and shipping and everything for us. Of course, we pay them for it. But yeah, it's great because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of subscription services or telehealth companies where they're looking at maybe finally making a profit the third or fourth month of a recurring subscription. So the fact that we're able to make at least a little bit of profit on first purchase is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it was also good that we actually went deep and into it and did the calculations, because I still remember how last year we were at like a 10x return on ad spend from the ads, and we were like hesitant a little bit to push or get below like an 8x total return ad spend. But then we calculated it and we realized that actually we have way more room to play. And last month we were at a slightly above 5x return ad spend, and it was the highest profit month that we ever had, and the profit continues to go up.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Cool. How, like, in terms of the operations and the teams, like you already mentioned, you're a very lean team with all of that growth and everything. Like, how has that changed the way that you run the business and the team?
Yeah. So when we started, it was just my co-founder, Jim, and I, and we were doing everything from, I do most of the marketing side of things. So I'm responsible for the brand, but as the doctor, I'm also kind of like the clinical side of things. So I'm making sure that the medication descriptions are okay, that our partnerships with the physicians are okay, that they're taken care of. So we were kind of doing everything. Jim was running the customer service. I would hop in sometimes. It was kind of like whoever could get to the email first. And then, we're scaling rapidly, and then we're seeing, maybe like 50 to 100 emails a day. And we're like, oh my God. So we had to hire somebody for customer service, which has been great. That was a huge unlock because she's able to dedicate, basically 24/7 to it. She's amazing. She works even past when we want her to. So that's one thing that we definitely pride ourselves on, is like our customer service response time is usually under an hour. And oftentimes she's logging in after hours to get people taken care of. So on weekends, because it's also very time sensitive. Our doctors are very fast. So if somebody maybe places an order and decides they don't want it, if our doctors have already approved it and it's already in the pharmacy system, they may have already been started working on it, and we can't really refund at that point. So we do have to have a robust customer service kind of network where if they request a refund, we need to stop that in the process right away before it gets shipped out. Sometimes it's very fast. So the customer service one has been big. And then in terms of probably the biggest need that we have is media, and that's probably everyone's biggest need right now. So as we've said, we're spending all this money, but that does nothing if you're just reusing the exact same static ad over and over and over again. Ads fatigue pretty quickly. So we need a lot of help. You guys help us a ton with ads, which is awesome that you kind of do the full service. You're not only spending our money, but you're also making the creative for us, which is huge. But on top of that, we've had to bring in outside agencies for help with UGC. So giving people our product, getting honest reviews and videos from them. We've had to bring on also like an internal organic person. I still do most of the organic, but I brought on somebody to help me with like the actual videography and the photography and then some of the editing. So yeah, we're still relatively lean, but as we grow, we've seen a need. I'd say customer service is the biggest, and then media. We can never get enough creative, and I don't think any company can. Of course, there's AI, but that, those ads are always going to perform way less than the actual real human speaking. So those are the two big ones.
Yeah. And how would you say, how did your personal or your day-to-day change since when you were at like 70K per month to where you are now? Is it still roughly the same, or did it change a lot?
It's still kind of the same. It's kind of being a business owner is weird. Like, I saw a meme where the guy's holding his phone and it was like, being a business owner means that your office is basically anywhere. Cause it's true. I'll be like shopping with the family and all of a sudden I get a message and I need to stop in my tracks and I start going. So it's kind of a weird day that I have where it's like, I might be pulled in a million different directions. I'm always on Slack. I'm always taking calls. But I wouldn't trade it for a thing. I prefer it. I love it. I get to be creative. I spend most of my mornings doing the creative for the week, working on social posts and talking to my videographer, things like that. And then the rest of the day is just kind of putting out fires, like, a customer service complaints, or maybe something's happening at the pharmacy, or there's a product out of stock and 10 people have ordered it. So now we got to figure out what to do for them. It's kind of all around as a founder. And yeah, I don't really have a ton of structure, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that you're still so much involved in the media side and the content side of things, which I think is great. But even like things like editing, like you mentioned to me yesterday, you're spending like 10 hours a day right now editing content, which usually a founder at that stage wouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I agree, and it's probably not the smartest thing. I think, I love media. I love videography. I love editing. I love photography. And for years, I've listened to many like a YouTube star and stuff say that they always said they'll never hire an editor because no one can do it as good as them, and then they hire one and it's so much better. And I'm sure that would happen to me as well, but as I still feel like we're so new and we're still scaling right now and we're really still working on that brand. So I want to be 100% involved in it because it is kind of an extension of me and it is my company. So I want to make sure that I have some touch in there. So even if that's like editing the footage and making sure that the color grading is consistent in the way that my vision, because I'm really trying to bring people kind of into my world in each campaign that we do. And if I just tell somebody else that, I can tell them, but every time that I've done that, it's like, I'm like, oh, I saw it differently in my own head. So I'm able to do this. As we scale, I definitely think that we'll need more systems in place. I'm not going to be able to be the only one. That's why we've already brought on some people, but as long as I possibly can, I would love to be involved in that. Again, just because that authenticity factor is important to me. I want to make sure that when people buy, they know that they're buying from, this is Dr. Hotch's brand. And they should feel like, oh, he had something to do with this campaign and this media that I'm consuming.
Yeah, I get that. Now, if you were talking to a founder running an e-com brand, doing high six figures, low seven figures a year, so kind of where you were like mid last year, that is nervous about scaling paid ads, what would you tell them based on your experience?
Oh, I would say 100% do it. I would make sure that a lot of different things were aligned though too. I do think that we've kind of had a perfect storm. Like I said, the branding was very important. I think people need to have some sort of both brand affinity and brand equity. That way, maybe they've seen your posts and they see you're putting out really good content. And so they like your brand. They know that your brand is real. And then they see an ad. That's really important. We also have leveraged a lot of affiliates. So we have people talking about us who are trusted by their audiences. So, they're talking about us. They look at our page. We have a really good brand. People align with our brand and then they're hit with an ad or they're hit with an email. So I think all of it's a perfect storm. I don't know if we would have the success that we had if all we did was ads. I think it all kind of goes together. But that being said, I've certainly seen like a lot of Amazon brands that just massively and rapidly scale with nothing but ads, and they have like kind of zero brand presence and not a lot of affiliates or anything, maybe UGC or AI UGC. So I might take it back a little bit and say maybe you can with ads, but I think if you're looking for a long-term like brand recognition and being credible in the space, kind of try to do it all. But I wouldn't be afraid of ads. I would say like, it's still very highly profitable. I wasn't around in the the glory days. I was back in like med school. I wasn't running ads, but I hear about them. But honestly, it's been just as good. Like, man, I love being able to spend ads or spend money on ads because, like I said, right now I'm giving them $1 and they're giving me $5 back. Like, I will do that as long as we possibly can. I dread the day that ever changes, and I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you would wish you would have done sooner with us?
Not with you. I would just say probably bring you on from day one, honestly. I think that we probably, looking back, should have had a little bit of ad spend money set aside and just started from day one because we had gone 6 months without you, which was fine. But I do think that we would have just accelerated a little bit faster. So that would be largely the main thing. Just start sooner.
And who do you think is a really good fit to work with our team, and why?
Honestly, any e-com brand, I would say. And again, the cool thing is that you are able to adapt. You had never worked with a telehealth company before us, and that was really stressful for us because again, we have really particular requirements, things that we can say or can't say, things that we didn't even know because our ads, when we tried, for a few weeks before bringing you on, anything that we posted got shut down. So you guys were able to adapt, which was really cool. But I also love that you're kind of the full service. So if you don't have anyone making the media for you, you guys will do the creative, which is huge. It's kind of, as far as I know, it's kind of unheard of that somebody's doing everything from creation to also spend and managing. Usually you're looking at maybe like 3 different teams for that stuff, and you guys are doing it all under the same umbrella. So it's great. Anybody who needs help scaling, I would say, would benefit being with you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, really appreciate and really glad to hear that. Cool. Any last thoughts? Anything that you forgot to mention, or anything about the partnership or in general?
No, I don't think so. I'm just, obviously extremely happy. Who wouldn't be excited? Who wouldn't be happy with these numbers? Things have been great. So we just, we're really appreciative of everything you and your team's done for us.
Yeah. Also super excited to see how the next few months will play out. Have been really enjoying the partnership so far. And as you mentioned, results have been great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.